Hello my fellow students, this is my presentation about the African American History and Culture project. The first real slaves were captured in Africa and were sold in Virginia in auctions in Jamestown. After they had finished their years of service, they had the right to buy property, but discriminations were still strong against them. They belonged to the lower society. The majority lived in the South, where they were needed in the big plantations that grew rice, tobacco, sugarcane and cotton. In the North, the cool climate and the rocky soil made farming not profitable, so slaves were mainly working in factories, homes, shipyards and on fishing and trading ships. In the mid-1600 colonies passed laws, the slave codes. After those, the slaves couldn't own weapons, get educated, move or meet others without permissions of their master, and testifying against white people in court. In general, it confirmed the lower life importance of slaves. During the Revolutionary War, blacks went with the British, hoping to have a better chance of freedom. By the beginning of 1700, more than 700,000 slaves lived in the South. That was actually the 1/3 of the population. Numerous slaves protested against the conditions of living, using different forms of rebellion, destroying property, running away, pretending illness, and disobeying orders. Also, armed revolts and mutinies were organized. Slaves received punishments, beatings, and other physical punishments. The Revolutionary War helped changing the attitudes about slavery, especially in the North. A spirit of liberty and appreciation for the service of black soldiers started changing the attitude. The important steps to end slavery took place in the early 1800s. Free blacks started having a big variety of jobs. The first black newspaper appeared. The best known editors were Samuel Cornish and John Rushworth, who started the first black newspaper. Most whites treated blacks as inferiors. They weren't accepted in many public spaces. In few states they had the right to vote. The children had to attend separate schools. Few colleges and universities accepted black students. All these discriminations led to the opening of black colleges and also separate churches. The American Colonization Society was sponsored by supporters of slavery who had the plan to solve the problem by transporting free blacks on a voluntary basis to Africa. Liberia was established. Anti-slavery movement was supported by many white Americans with democratic ideals, especially in the North. In the South, they thought that slavery was a normal situation. In 1820, the Missouri Compromise was the result of a Congress which started in 1860, admitted Missouri as a slave state but also Maine as free state. In 1860, slavery became a major issue in the U.S. presidential elections. Abraham Lincoln was elected as president. At the beginning of the Civil War, Lincoln's main concern was the preservation of the Union, not the end of slavery. Gradually, this became a main goal. In 1862, Lincoln gave a plan to the Congress for the gradual freedom of slaves. In June, he signed the decision for the end of slavery. By doing so, Lincoln took the first step in the long path towards the gradual diminishment of discrimination and racism against African Americans.
One moment in peace, a bit of enjoyment and harmony, a break from the madness, that pressure and sadness, yes, one and all.